Today I'm going to be taking a look at the BetaFPV Aquila20 HD ready-to-fly package, with the main selling point being the Artlink HD FPV video system. This product is very similar to the Cadex Protoss. It's even similar in price with a few key differences. Everything comes in a zip carry case. First we have the quad, which is bigger than the Protoss, and a key difference is that you can get this package with an analog video system as well as the HD system. Feature-wise, it's almost identical to the Protoss in that it's running custom firmware, so no Betaflight, and has a position hold sensor on the underneath. The controller is the BetaFPV Light Radio 4 SE and is Express LRS based. The switches and modes are almost identical to the Protoss, so there's an arming and disarming switch, a mode switch with the flight modes renamed to normal, which is position and altitude hold mode, then sport mode is angle mode, and manual is full acro. There are again 3 rates which have been labelled slow speed, middle speed and fast speed, and then turtle mode. So the only difference between the Aquila and the Protoss here is that there's no lost model alarm at all on the Aquila. The Protoss uses motors as a buzzer for a lost model alarm, which isn't great, but it's better than nothing, especially for a beginner package. The transmitter charges via USB-C. Then we have the box goggles for the ArtLink system. Like the Protoss, these are very budget and use a single 1080p screen with proper lenses to magnify the image. But they do have a couple of differences. The first one being that the antennas are folding omnidirectional antennas versus the patch antennas on the Protoss. Omni antennas will be better for a beginner as you don't have to point your head in the direction of the quad. The downside of Omni antennas is less general range. However, that's compensated in this package by the ArtLink VTX having 200mW versus 100mW of the Protoss. But just like the Protoss, there's a record button, back button and a joystick to navigate the screens, as well as a micro SD card slot for recording the DVR in 1080p 60. A key difference is the battery for the goggles. It's part of the head strap. The goggles charge via a USB connector. Then we have a quick start manual as well as the full manual. These aren't as detailed as the Protoss manual. Then we have some spare props and an external USB connection board. As I say, this doesn't appear to be using Betaflight, so you can't do much with this. I used it to send the onboard Express LRS receiver into Wi-Fi mode so that I could change the bind phrase and bind my Radiomaster GX12 to it, as I'm a Mode 1 pilot and the included transmitter comes in a Mode 2 configuration. Then we have a screwdriver and a prop remover. Then this is a single charger for the proprietary batteries. It charges via USB-C. It does not storage charge the batteries, unlike the Protoss, which is a downside for beginners, and the Protoss comes with a battery charging hub. You can get one of those for this package, but you have to buy it separately. The proprietary 2-cell batteries are bigger than the Protoss and have more flight time, but you only get 2 of them. Then we have a single USB Type-C cable. There's no quick charge wall adapter included in this package like there is with the Protoss, so you'll have to provide your own. Lastly, we have the goggles 18650 cells and some kind of QR code for the online manuals. The 18650 cells go into the goggles battery bay and there's a button to show their charge percentage. The camera angle is adjustable on the drone. You get the ducts in shot of the image with the camera fairly flat, but you want to set the camera fairly flat as a beginner. The instructions leave too much to figure out using guesswork. For example, everything comes bound out of the box, but there are no instructions how to bind or rebind everything. There's a couple of buttons on the drone. I think the button on the bottom is the receiver's bind button and the one on the side is the VTX linking button, but it's anyone's guess. With the Cadex Protoss, the drone was really subpar. This one is a little better, being bigger. It feels very plasticky and cheap, but it's sold as a budget model. It weighs 72 grams without a battery and 126.9 grams with a battery. The drone battery is much easier to get in and out of the quad. It's a better design than the Protoss. It's also got its own power button, which is unusual but better than the Protoss because it means there are no voltage spikes if the battery gets stuck in a half-connected state to the drone. It's a double press to turn the drone's battery on and off, which does take some getting used to. I really don't like the included charger. You have to turn the battery of the drone on via the power button before anything will charge. And then it takes around an hour and 15 minutes for a single battery to charge, of which you can only do one at a time. It does double up as a voltage checker, but the LED on the battery itself shows its percentage using different colours. The on-screen display of the drone is very similar to the Protoss. It does have the controller's RSSI missing, and unlike Cadex, the goggles don't save any on-screen display information to a file. You only get the SRT subtitle file. It's impossible to see the goggles information at the bottom of the screen. The text is just too small and blurry. I'd say the goggles are slightly more comfortable than the Cadex Ascent goggles, but not by much. They have put this rubber cover over the nose, which does help. However, to see the screen, my nose has to sit directly on top of this rubber cutaway. And I also feel like the focus of the lenses is a bit closer than the Ascent goggles, causing a bit more blur. There is enough room to wear glasses over these goggles, but that will depend on the size of your glasses. Just like the Cadex goggles, there's no HDMI out on these cheap BetaFPV goggles either, so apologies again for the camera pointed at the screen. Notice that there's no BetaFPV branding in the menus. BetaFPV are saying that the ArtLink system as an HD video FPV solution will be used by other brands. They say future goggles could be released that are compatible, but for now this is all we have. It's very similar to the Cadex Ascent system with similar features and a similar price, but they are not compatible, and I'll talk more about that later. Other notable settings in the menu are the number of channels, of which there are 3. We have various display settings. Interestingly, the one labelled focus mode was turned off. This didn't seem to do anything turning it on. There are some recording options. I changed the record time to 30 minutes. The power output has a maximum of 200 milliwatt. This is twice the power of the current Ascent VTX. But as power is not linear, it doesn't mean that it's got twice the range. It can be set to 100 milliwatt or 25 milliwatt as well. The bit rate comes set to 8 megabit as standard. I changed it to the maximum, which is 24 megabit. There are 2 modes, standard and race. I kept it as standard. Then there's various camera settings, and this time the zoom feature on ArtLink works to some degree. This is useful if you can't see the full screen through the goggles, but it only changes the camera feed and not the entire picture, so there's still some work to be done there. As for flying indoors in position hold, it works as well as the Protoss does. I like how BetaFPV have acknowledged in the manual that this mode is only useful in a windless environment. So while it can be used outdoors, it actually becomes more difficult for beginners if it's windy because it starts to drift around. I found the same with the Protoss. If you go above 2 meters, the model would switch out of position hold mode and go into altitude hold mode, requiring manual input from the user. I've seen a few beginners ask why their model all of a sudden just crashed in position hold mode, and this is the reason. And again, you don't want to switch between modes while flying because each mode has a different throttle position setting. So most of the time it won't let you change between modes in the air anyways, and the Aquila is the same as the Protoss. You need to land and change the mode. So again, this is more confusing for beginners because let's just say you have gained confidence in position hold mode and you take off in angle or acro mode. You then get into trouble and think that you can flick it into position hold mode, but it doesn't happen because the throttle's in the wrong position, and also it needs good ground data to go into position hold mode. So the quad has to be stable. It just doesn't work as a concept for beginners, in my opinion. One thing I do like about this quad is that when the battery is about to run out, it will auto land, unlike the Protoss, which just falls out of the sky when the battery depletes. The Protoss battery does have voltage protection on it though, whereas the Aquila's protection seems to be auto land and not let you take off again. Flying outside in acro mode, and this quad is better than the Protoss. I can't really recommend the Protoss as a beginner package because the drone is quite poor, but I think this one is at least passable. It's still underpowered and the tune feels quite washy. I tried some flips and rolls with it, but just like the Protoss, any amount of sustained full throttle and the voltage sags instantly and it goes into the red with a low voltage warning on the screen. So it's more suited to just cruising around, which is what a beginner wants really, but there's not that after bit where you can progress into full acro. I think using the fast rate is better than the Protoss, or it has less expo in the middle of the stick. It's an okay beginner quad, and that's the most I can say about it really. I don't like the proprietary battery because you can only get additional ones as long as BetaFPV sell them, and again, an enclosed LiPo is not a good thing because they tend to puff out over time. Just like the Protoss, it's a package that will get you in the air, but it won't keep you in the air. You'll want to upgrade the controller with a proper model memory and express LRS settings. The goggles only work with this video transmitter board at the making of this video, so there's no proper upgrade path without buying all new stuff or waiting for something else to come out. The flight time of the quad is just over 10 minutes, which is better than the Protoss, and that's flying until the quad auto lands. Onto the ArtLink system itself, and the image I think is smoother than the Ascent system. I'm not sure if this is going to show through the DVR though, as it seems to have some kind of codec playback issue when the file saves. I have re-encoded it using Handbrake and then upscaled it to 4K for the best results. I think the image is a little better than Ascent. There's less sharpening though, which makes the overall image look a little blurry and smeared. But Ascent is kind of like that, but with sharpening added on top. As it doesn't have any on-screen display information saved at all I have is the SRT subtitle information, which is missing key information as well, such as the video latency. They say it's around 60 milliseconds, and for cruising around, the latency feels the same as Ascent does with its latest firmware. The sun did decide to come out and make an appearance at some point, and there wasn't any jello present, which is a positive. It's nice that you can fly behind yourself and you don't have to point your head at the quad like you do with the Ascent system. But when you run out of range, there's a huge problem compared to Ascent. I put myself between a building and the quad, and unlike Ascent that has really good low bitrate handling, the ArtLink image just starts to freeze and goes really jerky. There's no warning of this happening at all. You can't see the bitrate readout in the goggles because the text is too small and smeared, but watching back, the bitrate starts at 21 megabit. This then seems to drop to 16 megabit and never recovers back to 21. Then when it gets to 11 megabit and 6 megabit, the image starts to go jerky and completely freezes. But you can't rely on these numbers. They don't change quickly. They just sort of change in stages, and I don't think they are accurate. And they don't tell you anything useful in real time. This, for a beginner, is a show-stopping issue for me. An experienced pilot can learn the limits of a system that has no signal loss warnings, but experienced pilots are not buying this product. Then add the fact that there is no lost model alarm. If a beginner loses signal signal and loses the quad, you are done for. I myself ended up losing the model in long grass. Towards the end of its battery, I did a throttle punch out and the VTX seemed to brown out and completely freeze. The image never recovered, but I could hear the quad still flying in the background. I quickly disarmed, but because the grass was at a certain length, it took me around 20 minutes to find it, but luckily I did find it, completely soaked in wet grass, and the video link only came back after disconnecting and reconnecting the battery. I think for the moment both ArtLink and Ascent are a problem for the FPV hobby rather than a solution. Yes, they are both cheap, but they are both unfinished products. They only have one low-powered VTX each, with cheap, uncomfortable goggles, and an uncertain future. It's not clear if one will prevail over the other, and they are both similar systems, but neither of them are compatible with each other. And this can only cause confusion for a beginner who is new to the hobby, where choosing a video system is one of the most important decisions to get you started. So there you go, that's my review of the Aquila20 ArtLink ready-to-fly package. As I say, I don't think the ArtLink system is ready for beginners yet, unless you really want to take a punt because of the low price. Maybe look at the analog version if you are still interested, because it's a more disposable package for when you want to move on to something else. Or wait until somebody reports that the ArtLink system is good enough for a beginner to use. But you shouldn't have to do that. This system should just work out of the box. The Cadex Ascent system is more usable in the fact that its low bitrate handling is better for a beginner, but you do have to have your head pointed in the direction of the quad, otherwise your signal will also degrade really fast with that system. Both are flawed. I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching. Cheers.